Who's winning the Oval Test?
I'm going to have to. I'm sorry. You know what I've got to say. I have to say England. I mean, I've seen these pendulum series many a time before, so you could say that India are probably due to come back and win this one.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, it's Test match number 4. It comes from the Oval, and it's going to be a rip-roarer, as you feel. We have, of course, David Gower to review it, or shall I say, preview it with us right now. David, it was 36 summers ago that you got us scintillating 157 against the Australians in quick time 2. And that day, it was bat first, bat big. Do you think it'll be the same theme going into this 4th Test?
Yeah, I suspect so. Again, here we are a couple of days before a game. Normally speaking, let's face it, the Oval produces good pitches, good batting pitches. One of the things that has changed, we'll talk about this in a while, is that whereas there used to be good lasting pitches, there is a possibility just over the last few years that the ball will bounce and turn a bit. And as I say, that'll bring spin into the equation rather more than we've seen in the first 3 games. But normally speaking, if you pitch up at the Oval, you normally look at a white-looking wicket. To be fair, again, I've not seen this one. I've not been to the Oval. I can't give you, sadly, first-hand information. But if you pitch up there and it looks white, it's normally a good pitch for batting on. If there's a little bit of moisture, that would disappear pretty quickly normally. And you'd fancy batting first because actually, batting last could be a problem, but only, of course, usual rules, only if the side batting first has actually put runs on the board in proper numbers. So here we are again with 2 games to go in this series, trying to predict the unpredictable. And having sort of seen the way the seesaw has gone in these last 2 games, anyone who says they know what's going to happen in this next game is probably lying to you. But the one thing I think we can be reasonably certain of is there'll be changes in both teams.
Yeah, changes in the offing. I think Root reiterated that in his press conference. But I want to talk about Virat Kohli and what he emphasized with just the fact that they go with 4 pacers and 1 spinner. And he's shrugged off the fact that they're not going to be playing a specialist batsman. Do you see merit in his thinking, David?
Well, there's always merit in thinking when it works. That's the simple rule of life. And when, for instance, at Lord's, they got out of trouble, he was fine. But then, of course, when you look at it slightly more closely, they got out of trouble at Lord's only because 2 guys down the order who averaged less than 10 somehow put on the best part of 100 runs. Now, that's not going to happen every game. In fact, it's very unlikely to happen again. And we saw what happened at Leeds. As soon as England got to the tail, they disposed of the tail. And, of course, I have to say this too, at the top of the order in the first innings, everything went in a hurry. It was like an end-of-season sale. Things flying, wickets flying everywhere. So India cannot rely on the lower order at all. And if you've got someone like Pant, who is special, who is not producing runs, that puts even more pressure on the top order. So that is one of the areas. But I think if you look at the overall balance, what I think most people have in mind for the Oval, whether they're India fans or not, is that Ashwin really must play. He really must get a go now. I think he took a 6-wicket haul there for Surrey earlier in the summer. So he knows that pitch from recent experience. And if that pitch is anything like the one he bowled on then, he'll be looking forward to it. Although let's always bear in mind, pitches for county games are inevitably different when you compare it to the pitch that is prepared for a test match. So a test match pitch should last longer. But I think he's due a recall. And I think obviously the other thing he adds to a team is the potential for runs as well. So we're not sure about, I haven't heard any news about Jadeja in the last 24 hours, but he's still on the possible injured list as we speak, or as I speak anyway. So if it were me and he's fit, I'd still be playing Jadeja and Ashwin and taking out probably Ishant. We could look at the batting as well. Rahane, he does this often, doesn't he? He seems to quite often get himself into a space where people are not sure about his run making, and then normally has an innings, gets 100 like he did in Melbourne, and he's off and running again. But there is a potential change there as well if India are looking to bolster that middle order. But what they need to get back to, let's face it, what they need to get back to is the formula that worked, first of all, at Lord's, would have worked most likely at Trent Bridge as well, where they got runs on the board, good opening partnership. I wouldn't be changing that, although one of the options that India has is to bring in Agarwal at the top and put Rahul down the order again. But I wouldn't want to change that, because I think KL Rahul has played very nicely at the top. And if you've got an opening partnership that looks confident and looks like it's playing well, why would you want to change it? So if they get runs on the board again, that puts them back in a strong position. One of the things that was notable too at Leeds in the last Test match was that for some reason, the cricket balls that England used seemed to move. They seemed to swing a little bit. They seemed to seam a little bit, and they had Indian batsmen in trouble at all the key moments. Whereas the ball that India used, or the balls that India used, didn't seem to do much. So there is an area of concern there, I think, as well. But if you're Virat Kohli as captain of that side, if you're Ravi Shastri as manager of that side, you say, right, let's go back to Lords. Let's just think what we did well at Lords. Let's just think about all the things we've done well in those first 2 Test matches where they were in control for both games, and let's get back to that. And of course, this ability to bounce back applies potentially to both teams. So we saw England do it at Leeds. India, we know, have character. Come on, we know it. Here am I trying to reassure Indian cricket fans, because we've all seen the team recover from even lower ebbs than the one we've seen after Leeds. So go back to Adelaide. Think about how low that was. Think about how good it was after that. And those are the sort of things that the Indian management and captain will be harking back to, because when you've got a team with that sort of character, that sort of ability, it is certainly not down and out.
Yeah, and Virat Kohli reiterated again in that press conference, saying that, they like it when people doubt them. So let's see how far that goes. So just to gather what you said, would you go with a 4-1 sort of combination, 4 pacers, 1 spinner, or would you go in with that 3-2 mold with 2 spinners and 3 pacers then?
I think if everyone's fit, if it's not an issue for selection, in other words, if there's no injury problem for selection, then I'd stick with Jadeja. I would add Ashwin. I think I'd take Ishant out. He was out of sorts at Leeds, off rhythm, and didn't look particularly threatening. I don't have any problems with the other 3 that bowled there, and they might find, again, we always have to sort of second guess conditions at a ground, a pitch, and conditions above. But I would say for the oval, I think I would go 3 and 2. And of course, by doing that, you strengthen the batting as well automatically.
But England right now, because they, of course, are going to be making changes too. Do you think it's going to be straight swaps? I mean, Woakes for Curran and maybe Billings for Butler, or do you see it differently?
No, it won't be Billings. Billings, I know, is there only as cover if Bairstow, for any reason, is ill, unwell, or injured. Okay. So Bairstow is definitely going to keep wicket, which he will enjoy. He was always very proud of the dual role when he had it before. He's had to be. I mean, one of the things about Johnny Bairstow, he's had to be very adaptable because of the various demands on his skills. And when Butler took over the gloves, Johnny was miffed about that. So now he gets them back again, not maybe for the reasons he would like, i.e. being first choice in that role, but he will play his part. He'll slip down the order for sure. It opens up a batting slot, which my choice would be Pope. I think he's a very talented cricketer. Lawrence, who is the alternative choice, is also very talented, rather more unorthodox. And both have had their ups and downs. Pope hasn't really had any form this year in the international game. He's had form for Surrey. Lawrence has had the odd decent knot for England and the odd failure. So that's the choice they will make, I think, in the middle order. And that leaves you then, once you get down to, say, Bairstow at 6, Moeen at 7, which is, it's all pretty plain sailing so far, then you've got to choose some pace bowling again. Now, the way it worked out at Leeds, obviously England have no complaints about the great Jimmy Anderson. They're loving the way Ollie Robinson gets better and better game by game. They were delighted with the fact that Craig Overton came in and just did his thing, and looked as good as the others, and that's always a very healthy sign. But Sam Curran has been a little bit ineffective. Has been ineffective with the ball. Hasn't been in the runs either. He needs to be firing on a bit of both to justify his place in the side. So the option to bring Mark Wood back in again, and if there's anything in that oval pitch in terms of pace, Mark Wood will enjoy that. So I'd be tempted to bring him back for Curran, which leaves you, that's pretty much job done. Woakes, if there is any hint, and I've not seen anything today, as we speak, I've not seen anything today yet about the thoughts about the England squad. But if there's any hint that, for instance, either Robinson or Anderson, for instance, need a break, and who knows, only the team physios, only the medical people in the team will know if there's any sign of where in either of those bodies. I mean, they both put in a lot of effort in the previous game. They've both played a lot of cricket this summer. In one sense, you'd say it's very straightforward. You've got a winning side. You keep it as best as you can. Only change it if you think you can improve it. And that's why I think Wood for Curran would improve it. And otherwise, you leave it the same and try and repeat the same sort of stuff, the same sort of cricket. Try and get those runs on the board again. Try and get those wickets that made all the difference. And the people who've been doing it well are the people to carry that through. And whether or not Jimmy Anderson has the strength in those legs and shoulders and back and all the rest of it to play the next two games and finish the series off in style, we'll have to wait and see what they decide. But of course, he will want to play in that final game of the series at Old Trafford, come what may, because it's his home ground. And he always feels that he owes Old Trafford something special. So if, for instance, the bounce back happens and it goes to 2-1 India, and England need to fight back at Old Trafford, then Jimmy will definitely be there for that and looking to play his part. But on the other hand, how much better would it be if England carried their momentum forward from Leeds and can win this next Test match to be 2-1 up when they go to Old Trafford? That's so much better. I mean, I always worry slightly when people are making plans for later. We've managed to discount, we've almost succeeded in discounting the Ashes and Australia from our chats in the series, quite rightly so, because this is a really tough series between two really good sides. So you have to play in the minute, you have to play at the moment. And that's why I would say, well, if everyone is strong enough, if there are no niggles, no problems with the fitness at all, I would stick the same bowling attack back in, apart from Wood for Curran, and try and make the most of that momentum.
Yeah, let's see how it really fizzles out, because there are a couple of things which come to mind here. Ollie Pope averages quite brilliantly, I think 100 plus at the Oval playing for Surrey, including a double 100 there. And then Johnny Bairstow, you touched upon it. Once he bats and keeps in Test matches, he averages 10 runs more than what he is just as a batsman. Chris Woakes, I know you haven't just spoke about him briefly there. If he's in the mix, I mean, Indian fans would know he's just absolutely brilliant as an all-rounder. And plus, in English conditions, he's just something else with the ball. So do you think that's an extra edge for perhaps someone like Woakes to fit in?
Well, it could be. I mean, it's a very viable option. He's missed basically the whole summer so far. First of all, what was slightly strange was having been involved in the, should we say, the early year stuff on and off, and a bit of IPL. He was rested. So he's rested during that New Zealand series at the start of the summer. Then he had a heel injury. So he's coming back from injury and will have been building up his strength, building up his fitness, but without much cricket to play. Let's face it, this is one of the problems we're always going to have, I think, in this game now at the top level. If you don't have the right sort of games to play in, you don't really have time to prepare yourself as people did in years gone by. So he is a good bowler. As you say, he tends to do better at home in England than he does overseas. And he is a good all-rounder. I suppose the only worry would be that he hasn't really got miles in the legs this summer, hasn't been bowling as much as he would have liked to go into a game, any sort of game like this, with maximum confidence. But if there is a reason to pick him, and going back, that has to be resting someone, it has to be a rotation, because obviously you can't drop people on form, can you? I mean, look at the way England bowled in that last Test match. You cannot drop anyone on form. So it can only be rotation. It can only be fitness that allows someone like Woakes to come in at this stage. But he'll be, I mean, the one thing is he'll be delighted to be back in the mix. People like him, when you're on the fringes so often, you end up learning to make the most of your opportunities. So, it's not ideal. People respond much better if they know they can be safe and secure with a place in the side. He's one of these players who's been in and out for years now, but comes back in as a good professional, does a good job. And the only thing I'd say about his home record is that, yes, he does have a very good home record, but at places where the ball swings and seams a bit. And the Oval is not necessarily that place. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens there. So if he makes the team, I'd be slightly surprised if it's tactical. I'll be very surprised if it's tactical. I wouldn't be surprised if there is an element of rotation involved.
Yeah, let's see how it really takes shape, this, because it's bubbling up nicely. And of course, all roads leading to South London. A couple of things to think about then for the viewers watching this. I want to put you in terms of some quick fire questions now. As usual. I mean, that's why you kind of chuckle along. The first one being the most surprising player of the series, for the good or the bad? Who surprised you the most with their performance?
Oh, well, I suppose. Let's work it out this time. In terms of surprise, I mean, I suppose surprise is sometimes the wrong word, only because when you've got good players, sometimes it's more surprising when they don't do well. So it's, for instance, Rahane is surprising because I expected more runs from him. Kohli's been surprising because I expected more runs from him. Nicely surprising for India has been Rahul, who, because of the injuries, because of the situation at the top of the order, got the chance again to open the innings. And apart from the last game at Leeds, has really looked the part. So I think that's been a nice surprise for him. Maybe not a surprise to him, but a nice thing for him and a nice surprise for Indian fans. And I think again, not really a surprise as much, but I think the continued progress for England of Ollie Robinson has been excellent. Because when you look at someone coming into a test team in their first few games, even if they take to it quickly, take to it well, it's not unusual for there to be setbacks. And for instance, when a batting lineup, an opposing team gets used to someone or sees a bit more of him and they start to work out how to play him, sometimes you find that then slows the progress, so that there's that little bit of give and take. But he has done everything right. He's gone from strength to strength. He seems to get better and better. He seems to be getting stronger as well. Obviously, when you're taking wickets, that makes you stronger as a bowler. If things aren't going your way, the tiredness seeps into the limbs that more quickly. If things are going your way, then you bowl long spells and you don't seem to feel tired. And that's what he was doing at Leeds. 8-9 over spells, which is a very good sign for his strength, stamina, and fitness. So I think that's been a good thing for England. A nice surprise for England. What would be an even better surprise with these 2 games to go, of course, for either side is the wins that might take the series.
Yeah, and Virat Kohli will be one man certainly hoping to get his first win as a series in England. And let's see, make no mistake about that. One player which has been the most underrated this series?
Underrated, unrated. Well, I suppose. That's sort of slightly strange, I guess. Someone who, I don't know, everyone's been rated. I suppose, again, so following on from the previous question, someone like Pujara, for instance, who does his thing his way, to see him come back in the runs, albeit in a losing effort, gives him strength to go ahead and make more runs in these last 2 games. I mean, he is the sort of player who he comes up on the blind side a bit, doesn't he? Because he's not the glamour player. He is a true professional. He values his wicket. He grinds it out. He never gives in. And he's had, his start to the series was a bit slow. And he's never going to sort of set the world alight as an entertainer in Test match cricket. But he has such an important role. We all know, historically, how important that number 3 spot is. You have a solid performer there. So if you do lose the early wicket, you get someone coming in who knows how to survive and see off a new ball and then make big runs. So what he would like, I'm sure, and what, for instance, Rohit Sharma would like equally so, as Rohit's been in lovely form, but cannot get to the 100. He plays some super cricket at the top of the order there. And I know the feeling when you go through a series, knowing you're playing well, knowing that you're in good touch, in good form, but not quite putting the scores in the book. So not putting the hundreds in the book or even 100, that can start to get very frustrating. But if you look at, again, you have to sort of do this thing with your own mind and look into your own mind and say, right, I'm playing well, which is good. It'll come. You have to believe that these things will come. So I might have answered the question precisely, but that's sort of feeling I've got about the people who will want to do better and improve on what they've done so far.
Okay, and I mean, we could see it in Rohit Sharma's face. The frustration was there, especially when he got out after being well set. Let's see, hopefully from an Indian perspective, he goes on to cash in and get that first away test done. Lastly, from me, who's winning the Oval Test?
I'm going to have to. I'm sorry. You know what I've got to say. I have to say England. I've seen these pendulum series many a time before, so you could say that India are probably due to come back and win this one. But I just feel actually, if there is one factor, all right, 2 factors. Let me give you 2 factors that are in England's favour here. One is that I think Jimmy Anderson made the point after Leeds. He said they weren't unhappy necessarily. I mean, they're disappointed to lose, obviously, at Lords, but they knew they were close to being able to do something akin to what happened at Leeds, in the sense that they'd gone past the bat a lot. So he and the others had bowled beautifully at times without luck in the first 2 Test matches. When everything gelled, when they got the lengths absolutely spot on, the lines absolutely spot on, and kept finding the edge at Leeds in that first innings, well, then you can see what can happen. So that is one major factor, i.e., that they now have sort of more confidence that they will and can get the edge, so they can get the wickets. Therefore, they can put the Indian batting under pressure. And the other thing, actually, from England's point of view, to be totally Anglo-centric on this one, is that having had a decent opening partnership up at Leeds, again, that sort of confidence is invaluable both to the guys involved, so to Burns and Hamid, they know they can do that. They don't know it's guaranteed for sure, but they know they can do that. And for them, and therefore for the team as a batting unit, that just gives you that little bit more inspiration, a little bit more confidence that you can sort of tick the box with runs on the board. So I think those 2 things were the 2 most important things to England at Leeds. I mean, we take things like Joe Root runs for granted, don't we? And I suppose one of the worries would be that if he's due a failure, if the law of averages catches up with him, well, then maybe if it's not his game at the over for whatever reason, and these things can happen, then others need to take up that slack. But that's the name of the game. So you always look for whatever little things you can to give you an edge. And if you pick them up and run with them, as it were, just to change sports to rugby, if you pick them up and run with them and it works, then you're still in charge of games. So for those reasons, for those 2 main reasons, I'll have to back England at the Oval.
And I will back India for 2 reasons of my own, unlike you over there, but it's been brilliant having you as well. And we'll probably catch you post the 4th Test. Until then, have a great one, because I have a dodgy back right now, so I'll have to cut this review to the shop. But thanks, David, once again for making your time for it.
Right, well, always a pleasure, and I hope that back gets better. They're nasty things, bad backs. So yeah, keep taking the tablets, get whatever treatment you can, take the rest, and I'll see you in full fitness at the end of the Oval Test match.
Fingers crossed. Done. Cheers. Take care.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Well done.
Bye.
Okay. Well, yeah. Hope it does get better.
Yeah, I will. I will take care, because I got a nasty one in my spine, so it's just like to sit straight and to concentrate is just like killing me right now. But
you got a good physio or a chiro?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go to visit the chiropractor tomorrow, so I'm just going to pop some medicine and perhaps the magic spray. Bring the magic spray out.
Well, chiro. Yeah, a bit of chiro. All right. All right. Good luck with that.
Done. Cheers. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Pleasure. Nice. Take care.